But excited for Saturday and getting back in Autzen, primetime game, 7:30 game, and of course, preparations go on as usual. Questions?
Update on several guys, Mario, between Diamador. Obviously, Troy was fine, but he's playing with a broken thumb. What that really looks like longer term, and CJ.
Yeah, we got to limit him, a little bit contact-wise, right? When a guy's nicked up like that, Diamador looks good. Feel like he's ready to go, and will be ready to go. CJ he might have strained, soft tissue strain, so we feel good about him returning as well. Guys that didn't make the trip, Salah didn't make the trip. He got nicked up during the week. He should be good to go as well. You'll have to help me out. There's somebody else. You missing somebody? You missing an injury? Wow. Wow. Drew Mathis played. We've been very pleased with his development and his growth as a player. And so he was activated on special teams, did a real nice job. Big body in there that could run. He's a striker. A very physical player, high care factor, so it was great to have him in there.
Over on the right.
Mario, you guys have had games where Justin's lit it up. You've had some games where the running game's been consistent and cranked it up, games where you've held teams out of the end zone, and obviously another game where you won and give up 31. Is it nice to be able to win in a variety of different ways in this conference?
Without a doubt, due to the competitive nature and the parity within the conference, it's always great to get a win, particularly a road win. And that was a big point of emphasis. It has been, right, for a year and a half, 2 years now, making sure that we are able to get the mindset necessary to go on the road and find ways to win. So, yeah, it's, this team they work together really well. They feed off each other really well. They have each other's backs, and they just, as things get a little bit tough here and there, we just seem to play a little bit better in the different areas.
Coach, before the season, you communicated some of the points of emphasis, and it was cutting down penalties, turnovers and physicality. You've gone a long way along those things. But at this point of the season, if you had to reset and say, hey, team, these are the things that we need to do to take it to the next level, what are those things you'd say to your team?
Well, that's a great point. I mean, one of the points that we made following the game and then in our team meeting yesterday was it's taken a lot to get to this point in the season, doing some good things, and still have to get better at a lot of things. And it's going to take a heck of a lot more the rest of the way to accomplish the things that we want to. And it starts with those things you just mentioned, and it starts with doing things the right way. I mean, discipline has to carry over to what you do in your daily life, to what you do in your academic life. And I think our guys fully understand, being a better person, being better people makes for being a better Oregon football player, being a better teammate and whatnot. So the little things aren't the little things. The little things are actually all big things. We refuse to acknowledge things as being little. We make them all very important. And I think that type of an attitude has helped us understand the importance of not having penalties or careless penalties, or at least limiting them. Previous 2 weeks, we weren't so good. We were better this past weekend. About the detail, the attention to detail and preparation, how the second or the third guy in line at the walkthrough, his focus has to be as on point as the two guys in front of him preparing for the game, because football can happen, right? And when football happens, all of a sudden, you get tapped on the shoulder, and what a shame it would be, right, if a guy's not prepared. So those things certainly come into play. Taking care of our bodies, because we do practice hard. We have a physical blueprint, but at the same time, we have to have a smart one, an intelligent one that allows us to recover and, allows us to play to our full potential on Saturday. So I could go on and on, but those are some of the finer points that we have emphasized and that we really just stick to all the time to make sure we don't get away from that.
Watching the game a second time, I don't think people appreciate maybe the blocking you got from Camp Moyer and Schooler and Johnny Johnson downfield. What do you just make of those guys and just the importance of the touchdowns, like the Pittman downfield blocking and guys just stepping up and finishing plays down the field?
The most impressive part about that play is, I'd say two things. Number one is Camp Moore actually jumping over. It was, I believe, a defensive body to be able to still get to the corner and execute his block. But even more so, Johnny Johnson. Johnny Johnson's on the other side of the field. I mean, he is as far out, I believe, as the numbers, and he makes his way all the way over to lead that, I say a convoy. I mean, Brian Addison weighs about $110, but between Brian Addison and Johnny, have those guys, get out in front and, possibly provide a block that's going to make a difference. So those things they're critical. I mean, for you to be a good football team, your receivers have to play as hard as when they have the ball in their hands. They have to play just as hard when they don't have the ball in their hands. Being able to have downfield blocks, because downfield blocks lead to explosive plays. Can't say enough about them, or both Ryan Bay and Hunter Campmoyer with their efforts in the running game and their protection as well. They did a really good job in protecting the quarterback.
On the right, Gary.
Yeah, Coach, down 28-14. It was pretty much crunch time. It seemed like either do or die. And did your strategy change? It appeared like it was just, we're going to run it down their throats with Cyrus. Was there a strategy change, or did something just make a difference to do that? And was it because of CJ being out? Did that make any difference?
Well, at running back, we like to play the hot hand. Guys that start running well, you just want to keep them going. We had a plan prepared for 4 down, for odd, tight, bear, whatever they showed. And just when we got in certain personnel groupings, we were able to, I would say, get in advantage/numbers type boxes to allow us to create better angles, to create better double teams or whatnot, to help our running game get going. And when they got going, they really got in a groove. And credit the offensive line because they felt that at halftime we were close. We had some good runs in the first quarter, and then we kind of got flattened out with some of the open edge runs that we tried, some of the wide zone stuff. Well, that stuff's hard when that nose starts shading over to the plus side, and when that 3 technique becomes a 4-eye, you really are out leveraged. And those guys felt really strongly about certain couple of plays, and we acknowledged they were correct and gave them some of the plays that they liked and felt good about and worked out well.
On the left, James.
Back-to-back weeks, Mario, Jake has had some tough snaps. You've covered it up with touchdowns on those drives, but against Auburn it came up as well, and obviously that really bit you. That's 3 times in 7 games. I realize it's not a small sample. It's not a huge sample. How do you try to address something that you've covered it up, but it could bite you in a huge way if those snaps come up?
Sure. Well, it's technical. I mean, there's no one on this earth that takes more pride than Jake Hansen, and we trust him and we trust our teaching to fix it. But the bottom line is there is no trick solution or to it. You have to be completely and utterly technically perfectly sound when you snap the football to the quarterback. And obviously we have to eliminate those type of mishaps.
On the right, AJ.
Coach, obviously you've had good performances from your offensive line this year, but I thought Dallas Warmack, aside from that one penalty, had one of his better games as an Oregon Duck. Talk about his progression, and then, this game, talk about the game he played and then the progression as a player.
It's just come a long way. I mean, I've known Dallas for a long, long time. Used to pop in and see him in high school when he was a sophomore. He used to be all the time at, the other place I was at. So very familiar with him. And there's a lot to Dallas Warmack, a lot. And, as much as he's developed to be a really good football player, and the sky's the limit for him. I mean, to me, he's just getting started. I mean, I still see him as such a young guy because I remember him just, being such a young high school player. But he brings so much more to the table as a human being, as a teammate, as a leader. Has a tremendous calming effect. He's a great mentor to the young guys. I mean, think about it this way. You look at, there's some pretty impressive veterans sitting here, right? To be a grad transfer and come in and fit right in with the guys like he did, that speaks volumes right there, right? Because the culture has been established as being real strong, especially up front, and he fit in perfectly along with, the big guy over on the left side. So Dallas is invaluable to this program.
Right, right.
Mario, you often see around the country where a team has a letdown, either coming off a big win or maybe looking ahead to a big game. How much does Oregon's struggles against Washington State in the recent history of this series get them kind of locked in for this game right away?
Oh, we have a funny way of getting our guys locked in pretty quickly after games. We like to start it on the march back to the locker room after a game, particularly a victory, right, to get refocused. Because, I mean, when you're in conference play like this, every week is a playoff game, right? Everybody's alive. Everybody has a chance at the championship. So, and then at the same time, we recognize the fact that, we have not done a good enough job against Washington State for the past 4 years. And they have a super high-powered offense with some impressive skill players and a great offensive line. and their defense has made it really difficult for years with all the movement and all the stemming that they have done. So we recognize the challenge. We recognize that we have to improve, and probably most importantly, we've recognized we have not played our best football yet.
On the left, Matt.
Back to Cyrus. Think 3 straight weeks, career highs in carries, yards. He scored 5 touchdowns, and I think Washington is his best game since he's been here. Has it just been more opportunity, or has he improved in practice? And what have you seen to create this career highs 3 straight weeks?
No, it's a great question. I think it's both. I think, we're in the world of, instantaneous, right? Everything. And football is still a development sport, always will be. And guys get better over time. And there's a guy that really, he's a craftsman, like a lot of our guys. He's a true craftsman. He truly just takes a deep dive into the technique and the fundamentals, the eye discipline that is required to be a great running back as a blocker as well. Always so overlooked, right? You never talk about running backs in protection, but without them, you're subjected to 5- and 6-man pressures that could really hurt your quarterback in your passing game. So a lot of credit to Cyrus. He has been patient as well, while at the same time playing great special teams for us. But he's created for himself some more opportunities, and the level of competition in that room continues to go up, which is only going to make everybody better.
All right, Jerry.
Yeah, during the spring, it seemed like there was an instant connection with Justin Herbert and Juwan Johnson. And after 3 games, it doesn't seem like he's made much of an impact. I mean, other than a couple, he drops one, another was underthrown against Washington. At least that seemed to be the problem. What's going on there? I mean, he seems like pretty unique receiver with his size. That you think he's going to get him going?
Well, I think that when a guy comes off of injury, you still got to knock off some of the rust. And I think we're in that process. He's a talented guy. He's working his way back into it, and we're certainly looking forward to giving him opportunities to continue to help the football team. And that being said, the passing game isn't broken now. I mean, there's a lot of yards, a lot of plays being made. All those guys are playing really good football, and they're all getting opportunities, just like Juwan's going to continue to get some opportunities.
All right, AJ.
Coach, Washington State had put a lot of wide receivers out there in their sets. Without giving away your defensive game plan, obviously, what kind of adjustments does that kind of force you to make to account for those guys?
Well, I'll tell you, if you overdo it covering their receivers, they'll run the ball really well. They got really good running backs, and to me, what stands out, I'm always going to look at the offensive line first, because I just always want to see in the trenches on both sides of the ball, what is a team, what type of line of scrimmage and trench issues can it present to your ball club. But like you mentioned, it's not only that they put 4 or 5 receivers out there at a time, it's that they're 2 and 3 deep now. And all these guys are extremely fast, athletic, explosive. They are a make you miss, take it to the house type of operation across the board. And if you are not communicating, even though they don't have a ton of formations, they do have their motions, and they do have their coverage beaters that they can cause a lot of issues, and they have for a lot of teams for a long, long time. So discipline, communication have to be at a premium, technique and eye discipline as well. Certainly up front, you got to play well, both against the run, and you've got to create as much pressure as you can on the quarterback, even though that ball does come out fast. So they do a tremendous job on both offense and the defense side of the ball.
On the left, Matt.
What do you make with Jalen Red's usage in the red zone? It seems like a lot of his scores have come in that regard. And just what do you see that makes him so special there?
Well, he's a fast, explosive guy. He's tough. I mean, I don't think people realize how tough Jalen Red is and how dynamic he is, because he's just a really high football IQ guy. He gets it. I mean, he's a guy that I can assure you that if we tested him and just put him in any one of those positions out there, he could tell you and show you exactly what to do. So knowledge of the game, feel for coverages, at the same time, the ability to get that tough, that was a tough couple yards you had to get down in there, and he's done it before, on some of the other stuff we've run with him. He's just an accountable guy that we depend upon.
James.
You mentioned the running backs out of the backfield, Mario. Excuse me. Last year's game, that was really a weapon. They went to both of their backs more than even their receivers. I know Williams is gone, but how much does a threat does Borgi still pose there, first and foremost? And secondly, your defense finally had a game where it wasn't at its most elite, but especially on first down, that was extraordinarily uncharacteristic at that level. That was twice what you allowed against Colorado on first down. what is the means by which to correct the first down yardage allowed?
Well, it all starts right with first down, and first down starts with what you do up front. You certainly want to put yourself in more favorable second down situations. So again, part of that is technical, part of that is eye discipline. Something that we have worked on and will continue to work on, and we expect better results in terms of Washington State, the use of their back in the passing game. Those are dangerous football players, and because people are so concerned with taking away their deep shots, some of their down the field threats at the flats will be evacuated. I mean, you'll see guys catch balls out there and have 15, 20 yards of space to run with, and these are really talented guys that can make you miss and create some more yardage for themselves. So playing against a team like this, your eye discipline has to be absolutely perfect. You have to rally to the football because you are spread out really well, and then you have to be a good tackling team because you are at some point in time, and it's safe to say multiple times, you're going to have to make open field tackles. It's going to be hard to gang tackle due to the spacing of what they do. So technical and fundamental work will be at a premium all week in practice.